Hi, everybody. Today's guest is Mark Bryan. Hi, Mark. How are you doing?
Graham, hi, good to see you.
Yep, you too. How are things in isolation?
Um, yeah, okay. Yeah, keeping busy. I think routine actually is really important. We've got into a routine with the family, dog walking, work, bit of exercise. We're getting through it, I'm sure. And you?
Yeah, exactly the same, apart from not so much dog walking, because one, we don't have a dog. Two, we can't leave the
Hmm.
house because we're in shielding. But my back
Absolutely.
garden seems to be very full of running spots at the moment and not a lot of grass. So, yeah,
Just wearing out as you go.
absolutely. Yeah. Do you want to just tell everybody about what your role is at Durham, Mark?
Yeah, of course. So I'm head of sport and physical activity. I've been at Durham now. This is my third year in the role. Prior to that, I was with the national governing body for university sport, BUCS, British Universities and Colleges of Sport. And I was there for about 16, 17 years and did a lot of work on competition management, major event management, international sport, and working with governing bodies. So I've been involved in higher education sport since I started working, crikey, 1994, when I joined Kingston University many moons ago.
Brilliant. How did you end up coming all the way up to Durham? Because you guys live down in Sidcup, don't you?
That's right. Yeah, we're in London. I just had the opportunity. I'd known Durham and the setup through working at Bucks previously, and always been really interested in how they combined the academic rigor with sport, I guess. I knew Quentin Sloper and Peter Warburton previously from them working with our organisation. And so when the opportunity came up, it was really too good to miss. So yeah, I've been with the organisation since January 2017.
Fab, fab. And it's a great organization to be with. Now I've been there for 6 years, and look, I'm even branded today just for this conversation.
Yeah, you've done much better than me. I literally at home, all my stuff's back up in Durham, so the only thing I could find was a vaguely purple wall behind me. So
Oh, yeah,
that'll have to do.
it's slightly Palatin, isn't it? So we'll give you that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Mark, just a quick one, and let's start off with probably one of the most important things that everybody's interested in at this moment in time is universities, and people coming to university next year.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be a little bit nervous about maybe what their grades are going to be like and whether they'll get into university. But have you got any top tips or recommendations in terms of easing their anxieties for coming to Durham next year?
Yeah, and we are in such an unusual
Yeah.
situation. We are continuing to plan and do what we can to welcome students in. We are moving a little bit of that stuff online so that people can access what they might have been able to do in terms of some open days, coming to have a look around the university. So we're putting some stuff online to give students a flavour of
Mhm.
what it would have been like to visit prior to coming. So that will be rolling out across July and August. So we're doing some virtual tours. We're doing meet the staff. We're trying to engage our coaches in providing Q&As with students. So we're trying to do an awful lot of that stuff online and really improve our communication on social media, I guess, as well, is going to be really important to that. I think in terms of what next year looks like, we are still waiting for that guidance to come down from the top, I guess. Boris told us some stuff yesterday. I suppose we're looking now. He was going to clarify and add clarity to that today. That will then need to be articulated by the universities as a group, and then by Durham, and then by us. I suppose the complexity we've got as well is that we need to work with the national governing bodies. So we have individual sport governing bodies, and we also work closely with BUCS, who provide all the competition for our inter university sport. So we're on a meeting with them tomorrow. So that'll be the first conversation we'll have around what university sport might look like. But we're doing everything we can to make sure that we've got our facilities in the best working order. Everybody's really safe when they do come and when we can get back into the facilities. So rest assured, whatever it looks like, we'll be ready to go when we're given the go ahead.
Brilliant. And I know it's not really topic for this conversation, but the facilities at Durham now are amazing, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, super fortunate. We had an investment of about £5 million over the last 3 or 4 years to upgrade our outdoor facilities. But the real thing that we needed to work on and spend some money on were our indoor. The university has just built us a £32 million new sport facility, which means we're right up where we should be in terms of the quality of the provision that we can provide, not just for our performance sports athletes, but right across the piece. We've got one of the biggest college intramural programs in the country. And that now, I think if you're a Durham student coming to Durham, it's what you would want to see from a sporting provision.
Yeah, it's a world-class university, now has
Yeah,
world-class sporting facilities, apart
absolutely.
from the tennis courts. And we're still hopeful that
Ah,
will still happen. And that would certainly keep me happy on both fronts in terms of my tennis hat and my work hat as well.
absolutely. It's absolutely not dead in the water. But that was one that we were looking to try and include in the main builds, but we just couldn't get it into the footprint at the time. But we're still hoping that would be the one of the final elements to finishing off our sports provision here.
Fab. Well, this week, Mark, we've been doing a full week of education. Over the 30 days of May, we've just been
Yep.
doing interviews, giving out free education, storytelling, which is obviously one of the things which I love doing anyway. And it's a great way to share. It's a great way to kind of pass on knowledge. So we've had over 30 guests each day, a new guest. We start off with business, and then education comes in, and we obviously got sport as well, which is the nature of my business. So with the academic side of things, we've looked at secondary schools, colleges, yourself at universities. We've even got an Ofsted guy coming in, so everybody better not boo too much because he's a really nice guy. He used to be the head teacher at the primary school where my daughter goes to, so he's just made that transition. And then we had somebody from the PDM network as well looking at school sport. So it's been really fun. The one thing we've talked about a lot is transitions. Now, kids going from primary school to secondary school, that's a big jump. Secondary school to either college or staying on, they stay on, it's not so bad. But come to university, and maybe it's their first trip away from home. It's certainly going to be their first time away from home where they're having to manage and look after themselves a little bit. There is a bit of pressure when you come to a university like Durham because of, it's academic history, but also it's athletic prowess as well. We are a university now that's steeped in both heritage for academics and for sport, and if that's what you're coming for. Any top tips in terms of how do you make the transition a little bit easier for them?
Well, I think Durham is probably quite unique in many aspects, actually. So we are, I guess we'd like to see ourselves as probably the academic and sporting institution. One of our key goals is to retain the #1 UK team sport university in the country, which we've managed to do now for the last 7 years, but that is really challenging. So I think the environment around Durham is really important. The fact that it's collegiate absolutely helps that and provides a support network for students that are coming in. So if you're a first year coming into the university, you're generally in a college, and that has a great support network around it. So that's quite unique for students that are coming here. But I think from a sporting context as well, the support services that we have and provide for our athletes is as good as anywhere in the country. And I guess that's where you and I have come across each other, really. So we clearly have the sort of performance mind element, which is really important. First of all, to settle students in, I think, and get them acclimatized and accustomed to what Durham is about, but also then to help them on that journey. The academic pressures, you can't deny it, that there are pressures, and it is difficult balancing an academic 3 years with good top quality sporting prowess as well. It's not easy. So I think having the likes of yourself, we have a fantastic sports a strength and conditioning team to support the athletes, so they're getting all the physical attributes right as well. We have 6.5, 7 staff in that area that look after them. We employ a nutritionalist again to help them, certainly in that first year, which is often the really challenging one where they've come away from home and are independent for the first time. So I think we try and surround the sporting students with these services to give them the best opportunities to succeed in both. Clearly they're here for the academic side, and that's the most important thing, but we also want them to succeed in their sporting activity as well. So working with yourselves, working with our S&C team, with the nutritionalists, we have performance analysis as well now. It gives them the best opportunity to combine and achieve in both areas, really.
And there's certainly been a shift in I think I'll be starting my 7th year, I think in September, in terms of the mindset of the coaches as well. So we always talk about the coaches want their players to be on their A game, and we kind of want their coaches to be on their A game to help the players be on their A game as well. So there's certainly been a shift in the coaches wanting to join all of the dots and, bringing in S&C really tightly in nutrition and psych in as well, in order to make sure that we try to support the student athletes as best as we can.
Yeah, absolutely, and they are now seen as teams and units in their own right, I think, whereas perhaps previously they may have been slightly separated. We absolutely see the coaches, the technical coaches, working absolutely hand in glove with the support services, and actually you can't really see a difference. I think everybody is inputting into the individual. And everybody uses their expertise to try and get the best out of that individual. So yeah, that's become much more seamless and much more a whole than it has been before.
Yeah, it's been really good. And the other thing I think is a really great addition to this year is bringing in the counselling service down to Maiden Castle. Or actually, it's not called Maiden Castle anymore, is it?
No, it's now the Sport and Wellbeing Park.
Thank
I think
you.
it will forever and a day be known as Maiden Castle.
I know. I was just thinking, I'm sure it is Maiden Castle still, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
I'll get wrong for that one later on.
So yes, I think that's a really interesting element that I guess probably over the last 2 or 3 years we've seen much more need to have the counselling service engaged in what we're doing. Our coaches especially have seen a huge increase in the number of students that are talking to them now about personal issues because they have such a close bond and relationship with them. Our coaches will see our athletes twice a day, 6 days a week, probably. So, and have a much stronger bond in many respects than others within the university framework will have. And so the coaches absolutely have those conversations, but we need a professional outlet for some students, not for all, but for some who need to go and speak to somebody independently and have a professional point of view. And so working with the counselling service over this last year and a half, 2 years has been absolutely wonderful, actually. And it's, again, provided another level to the service that we can provide some of the students. And what we don't want to see the students doing is either not achieving in their academic side or feeling they have to give up sport in order to achieve academically. You can do both. And sometimes you just need to be nurtured and helped to understand how you can do it. And, working with yourself again with the counselling team and all the other support services really does give the students every opportunity to try and achieve on both fronts, really.
Yeah, I agree. You absolutely can do both if you have the right mindset and the support network around it. And obviously, we have TASS at Durham University as well, which helps massively for some of the high performance athletes. And George Bourne was on last week, and George won gold medal at the World Under-23s last year, which is amazing, the support that he gets and how fondly he speaks of his time at Durham, because he graduates this year. He finished his dissertation. He had one more exam to go when I spoke to him last week, and then he was heading off. And, phenomenal for somebody like George to do what he's done, but also what he gives back to Durham and the boat club in terms of, what he's going to do in the future, which we hope will be 2024 Olympics. The conversation we had last week was he will be closer to maybe sneaking a little place next year because he's going to be 400 days better.
Absolutely. And I'm sure the postponement of the Olympics has been absolutely heartbreaking for many, but for others it might be just that little opportunity to perhaps push into a team or sneak into a squad that you may not have thought. It may have been 4 years hence, really. So the likes of George, absolutely wonderful character, sort of embodies what Durham is about: academic, bright, articulate, and a tremendous sports person as well. So yeah, he sort of sums all of that up, and I guess his progression has been fantastic through his time at Durham, culminating in that gold medal at the under-23s. It just, yeah, a great good news story, actually.
Yeah, and there's so many of them to come out of Durham in the 6 years that I've been there. Tess Howard is another one who I spoke to last week, and Tess is Olympian in waiting. And it's one of those things where she was going, and it's just been paused till next year. But again, our conversation was about, okay, what can you do over the next 400 odd days, whatever it is, to be better? Because 18 months ago, she was nowhere near. And, that's only a year and a half, and you got another year. How good can she be in another year? And we talked about all of the things in isolation she's doing to try to improve herself as an individual, but also as a hockey player as well, which is great to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've heard some great stories, I think, in isolation about what talented sports people are continuing to do. We've just interviewed a former Durham alum who had been to the Olympics in 2016 as a rower, Angus, and he was just reflecting on his time at the university, but also what he's doing now in order to mentally prepare himself as well as physically keep in shape. And he was just talking about how it's given him time to reflect on what last year brought him and how he can use the successes of last year into this year and keep that motivation going for the Olympics, which hopefully will be next summer.
Yeah. One of the things which I think we talk about a lot in the department, but also with the coaches and with the athletes as well, is making sure that they have a high level of resilience. And it's one thing that maybe this generation have been talked about as not being as resilient as previous generations. And they've had no real need to be. There's been no event where they've had to overcome anything to be more resilient. So some of the students that come to Durham, they have it built in, and that certainly comes from parents more than events. And some of them just need to work on resilience as well. Do you think having the situation that we're in now, do you think that will give them some embedded resilience and make them a little bit tougher when they come back?
Yeah, I mean, you would hope so, wouldn't you? I mean, they're challenging times clearly for everybody. And as you say, there's probably been no one major event that would necessarily affected a generation like this has. Clearly, competitiveness and having a robust nature can be instilled in you in other ways. But it'll be really interesting to see how students move through this phase back into university and back into hopefully a sporting career. So yes, I'm sure for many it will. I think for some, they will still need some help to work their way through this and integrate back into university life. Who have spent time with the coaches, and the coaches together have spent time with the clubs themselves to enable an environment where people can talk about these things. So I don't think, I'd be pretty confident 10, 15 years ago that wasn't really the place of a sports club to do that. I think here at Durham it absolutely is. We welcome and encourage athletes to have those conversations amongst themselves, not even with professionals, to talk about how they manage themselves, how they're feeling, what their emotions are like. And I've seen that brought into some of the coaching techniques as well. So they critically assess their own coaching, their own performances, and that just helps people talk in more detail about what they're feeling, I think.
I agree. And I still work in some organizations, Mark, which are still like that. And if you go back 15 years ago, 20 years ago, players didn't want to speak to the coach about maybe some mental health issues because they would just drop the next week or out of the squad and seen as somebody who's, disruptive to the whole organization. Where now, and certainly we want to embed that. The coaches are brilliant. They understand that.
Absolutely.
Their knowledge, their training is to a high standard. So they start to see those issues and either signpost them either to my direction or to the counselling direction pretty quickly. I think they're really good with that. It's a brilliant place for any athlete to come and feel comfortable and in a psychological safe environment that they can express themselves in any way they want and not feel that they're out the team the next week because of it.
Yeah, I mean, they're generally in the team because they're talented and they work hard as well. So what we want to try and do is help them, if they have any issues, get over those so they can become a better person. So it's all about developing the individual, really, anyway.
It is perfect. And that just ends up, allows me to wrap up, Mark, with one more question, if that's all right with you. So we've
Sure.
got world-class facilities. We've got a world-class educational history. But what else does Durham give you that makes us stand out from everybody else?
I think, as we've talked about, I truly believe we have world-class people. So I think for me, the other bit of the equation is the people that work there. So I think our coaches, our support staff, our facility staff, we all work as a team. We're called Team Durham for a reason, because everybody is important in making sure that we give our athletes the best opportunity to succeed. Doesn't mean to say we always do, although we are pretty successful. But we give them the best opportunity to do so. And that is literally everybody that walks into that building that is employed by Durham University. So for me, the other element of that equation, we have the students, we have the facilities, and we have the people.
And the only other piece of ingredients I would add to that is the passion that everybody brings when they walk through that door to be successful and to push themselves to be better every day, which is it's a great place to work. And as you know, as a consultant, I work with a variety of people in a variety of organizations, but Durham's my fun job. I come and it's great because the vibe around there is just brilliant. And even sometimes when I'm dealing with athletes who are injured and are out for a significant period of time, then actually it's still really positive in order to actually see them back on the track and on the football field doing stuff like that.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel hugely privileged to be able to work in that environment, to go to work every day in a facility like that with the people that I work with, and surrounded by those magnificent students who are academically focused and have a real sporting focus as well. You can't get a better place to work, really, not in my opinion anyway.
Okay, well, with that, then let's leave it there. If you guys would like to subscribe, and please share and listen to Mark, and I'm going to let Mark finish off the last words. If anybody is in any doubt about where they're going to go next year and they haven't decided yet and their options are still there, give me a 30-second strap line. Why would you come to Durham?
You should come to Durham because of the academic opportunities you have here, of our fantastic sporting facilities. We are the #1 team sport university in the country, but we're not just about performance, we're about participation as well. So if you want to continue at a social level, or you want to try something different, Durham is absolutely the place for you to come.
Fab. And if you don't believe us, if you check out George Bourne and Tess Howard's interview with you last week, then they will tell you everything you need to know. Mark, thank you very much for your time. Hopefully we will get back to the university and I'll see you soon. But let's speak in the next couple of weeks. And thanks very much for doing this.
Absolute pleasure, Graham. Thanks a lot.